Hi everyone, I'm Hannah Thornton, and I'm a program assistant on the education team at the Palmer Museum of Art. Thank you for joining us for our online art club. We hope that you are looking forward to following along with us and creating some art at home. The Palmer has a ton of work for us to be inspired by. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to the Palmer's YouTube channel so you can keep up to date with everything we release for you. Keep an eye out every other Friday for online art club videos. This week, we'll explore art and artists who capture the feeling of being outside. Let's first take a look at this painting by Theodore Robinson.
I think this painting is beautiful. What do you first notice about the painting when you look at it? I notice that it has beautiful colors applied in an Impressionist style that makes them almost fall together. If you don't know what Impressionism means, it's a type of painting style where the colors are applied side by side in small, quick brush strokes so that they can blend together in the viewer's eye. Impressionist painters used pure colors straight from paint tubes, which were new at the time, directly onto their canvases. Impressionists are also known for using complementary color pairs to increase the vibrancy of their artwork. Lots of artists from the 19th century painted this way, Theodore Robinson being one of them. Impressionism became popular during this time, and it became more and more common for artists to take their materials outside and try to capture the scene in front of them, rather than staying in their studios. The newfound mobility of their materials with the invention of the paint tubes allowed them to do this. Being able to work outdoors gave them much more subject matter to choose from, which is how many Impressionist painters became interested in capturing the senses of being outside. Recreating the reflections of light and effects of shadows and working from life and direct observation shaped the period of Impressionism. After hearing a bit about the painting's style, what else do you notice about it? Here are some other examples of Impressionist paintings. These are some of the other works included in the Palmer's collection. The artists who made these pieces do a good job also of giving the viewer the full experience of the scene. The colors, contrast, movement, and composition of these pieces give them their Impressionist qualities. What do you think about these ones? Do you think the scene was truly captured in the painting?
Robinson did a really good job of depicting the feeling of being outside in his painting. Our art activity this week is to attempt the same thing that these artists did. Use Impressionist techniques to capture the feeling of being outside. Our goal is going to be to find some inspiration outside and create an artwork that captures the feeling of being in that scene that you choose. Find a spot outside that you think you could recreate through a drawing or painting. Try to imitate the way you feel in that spot with the techniques that you use, so it will feel like you're actually there when you look at your finished product. Maybe bright colors you use will make the picture feel like it's warm and sunny outside, or maybe quick brush strokes or pencil strokes create the feeling of movement or wind blowing, or maybe bright contrasting colors give off the impression that there are stark shadows. It's really all up to you.
To do this, use whatever materials you have available. Paint would probably be the best to use, but watercolor, markers, plain pencil and paper, or even collage materials can work just as well. I will be using watercolors for this project.
Be creative with this activity. Remember, it's more about capturing the experience of being outside rather than trying to make a realistic depiction. This project can be as detailed or as simple as you want it to be. Don't overthink it and let the inner artist in you flow. As I'm working, we can check back in with the other team members to see what they're working on.
For my artwork this week, I wasn't actually able to go outside and paint, so I had to use a reference photo. So I decided to paint a scene from a hike that I took, and I took a bunch of photos while I was there and videos, and it was just a really relaxing, beautiful place. There were a lot of trees. It was so nice out that day, and we just looked over Penn State from this really high mountain scenic view. So I decided that I wanted to paint that because I was still feeling very familiar with the memory of being in this place. I decided to use acrylic paint on paper, and to represent the bushes and the trees, I really just did small tiny dots with my brush, and I used a bunch of different shades of green and yellows, and I just painted the sky just a flat blue color. I didn't make it super dense, so I kind of just kept adding these little marks until I felt satisfied with the way it looked and trying to show depth with the different colors. And here's my finished product, and I just really liked the way that it turned out. I loved seeing the textures in all of my little brush strokes, and it was just a really fun painting to make.
For my Impressionist-inspired drawing, I decided to go onto my back porch and find inspiration from my view of downtown Cincinnati. It's a beautiful day and feels like late summer. I can hear cicadas calling and traffic noise from the nearby street. I decided to use crayons for this drawing because I haven't used them since I was a kid, and I thought they would work well for this type of sketch. You can't really get a lot of detail with crayons, so I thought that would help me draw my impression of the scene rather than getting stuck on depicting the details. When I was drawing this picture, I tried really hard to actually ask myself what I was seeing rather than what I thought that I saw. So when I really looked at the buildings and the skyline, I thought that they looked pretty blue and brown. So I decided to make those the dominant colors in the back part of my drawing. Then I got fixated on the beautiful trees that are right in front of my apartment. So I started drawing those in because they really dominate most of my view. There's a lot of yellow and green and lots of different layered colors. So I tried to add in as many different types of crayons as I could. Then I started sketching in some of the architecture and buildings that are between me and downtown Cincinnati. It's kind of a big mess of buildings down there that get all mixed together. So I just sort of drew some general shapes, some buildings that stood out to me. There's a red building and a blue building. And then the buildings behind it, I just kind of created basic shapes that suggested that maybe there was a lot of brick and architecture back there. I filled in the rest with a lot of greenery because as I started to look closer, most of my scene from where I was sitting was of trees and leaves and the sun shining through those leaves. So I leaned into that and filled most of my page with green leaves. Then I went in and just added a little bit of atmosphere around. I outlined a couple areas, and that was it. Here's my finished drawing.
For this prompt, I am going to draw the landscape of the park using watercolor. I sketched the park with a pencil, outlined roughly. After the sketch, I colored it with the watercolor. I filled the sky and the grass with a bold brush. And then I painted the leaves with bright green colors, and I brought dark greens over the page. I also added some brown and orange colors on a tree to add an autumn mood. I filled the tree trunk with brown and gray colors. If you go outside and closely look at the trees, then you will notice that trunks have various colors. After coloring the path, I put some shades. You can notice that I put more warm colors than the actual scenery. Why don't you try to capture your loving moment outside?
For this project, I decided to paint a scene that I see every morning when I walk out my door. I took a picture of it because it was really cold out, and in my painting, with my watercolors, I really tried to capture the coolness of the morning, and it was chilly out and the sky was still dark because the sun was rising, so I really tried to capture that blue, that pre-sunshine, and I think it did it pretty well, especially when the colors started to run together. It looked very, not rushed, but like blended, which is what it looked like in real life, which was cool. And the ground and the wood panels of the shed ended up being like a very similar color, so I got to capture that as well, which was fun because grounds are not usually blue. And the thing that stands out is the top of the shed, because the panels used on top are a different color than the ones on the bottom, so it looks a little out of place, but I definitely tried to capture the essence of being in that scene as much as I can. So yeah, this project was really fun, and I think it turned out pretty well.
Thank you so much for following along. We can't wait to see what you create. Show us your artwork with the hashtag Palmer Online Art Club. We'll see you next time for another look into the Palmer's collection.